Alright, ladies and gentlemen, with the return of yours truly, the landscape of this channel is, for the most part, gonna go back to normal, which means it'll be the same continuous form of low quality nonsense you know and love. Now, with that being said, I want to thank you guys for all the love and support that you've given me. My late mother would be happy to know that day by day, I'm doing just a little bit better, and the love you guys gave me holds a special place in my heart, so thank you. Now, in my last video, I confused Kamoi for Wan Shi, and I asked you guys to correct me, and boy, did you ever. I even had people think I was new to PGR. Now, look, I'm gonna be real with you guys. We haven't seen Kamoi get any love in approximately 17 sextillion years, and you see that's 1 and 21 zeros behind it. It's not my fault that I couldn't recognize him, since I haven't seen him in what feels like all 4 of the 4 years I've been playing this game. I'm happy for Kamoi fans. Truly, your happiness is what drives the portion of the purity in our community that is Kamoi in general. But with you guys' happiness aside, there is another issue that has the community split. And when I say community, I mean the Kuro Games community as a whole. Wuthering Waves players who also play PGR and PGR purists. Now, what do I mean? Well, if you haven't seen it, there's a tweet that got released to try and clarify the limpidity patch and the way the gacha works. And oh boy, whenever gacha games ends up updating their gacha, it's either going to be slightly better or really fucking bad. And when I say bad, I'm talking the Hulk punching Wolverine across the fucking forest in Canada. That sort of bad. Whenever a company announces that they're going to be making changes to their gacha, it's either going to be a little slap on the wrist or an absolute fucking nuclear explosive that's going to send the community into an infinite genetic mutational spiral that will leave generations to come unrecognizable. Now, I'm really hoping that this change that Kuro Games is doing with PGR with the gacha isn't going to end up nuking the game, but I highly doubt it. Punishing Grey Raven is a very loved aspect of the majority of the Kuro Games community, and I doubt that the majority of the community is going to end up abandoning the game. But if Kuro Games ends up going down a greedy path, a lot of players might end up leaving, and we certainly don't want that, so we'll see if this is going to end up getting rolled back, or if this is going to be here to stay, or if it gets any worse. I don't know if I haven't said it before, but if you haven't seen it, I'm going to go ahead and read the tweet for you. Dear Commandants, it has been brought to our attention that there are questions among Commandants regarding the acquisition of the new frame Live Limpidity. Here are the detailed explanations. The S-Rank Omni frame Live Limpidity will become available after the version update on November 13th, 2025, until 5 o'clock UTC on December 22nd, 2025. Available through the Philotree Nexus research, which includes the Limpidity Event Construct Pool and the Fate Limpidity Event Construct Pool, and has a 100% probability guarantee. Now this is where the issue is coming up, and I'm going to continue on, but this is where the problem is. The Philotree Nexus research shares identical rules with the themed construct. Commandants can use Event Construct R&D tickets to research. The Philotree Nexus research shares an identical guarantee gauge with the themed construct, and their guarantee counts are mutually cumulative. So essentially what this means is the Philotree Nexus research and regular themed construct research is going to basically end up having the same kind of pity. So you're going to be going to 60, I'm pretty sure. You're going to be going to 60 for both of them, and I guess it is good that you can still use the event construct tickets to research for both. You know, as long as it shares the identical rules, there isn't any problems yet. There isn't any problems yet, so you know, we're gonna keep on going here, and we'll see where the problems arise. Featured characters in the Philotree Nexus research are temporarily unavailable through any other means. However, they can still be expected to be obtained again in subsequent versions through the Philotree Nexus research reruns. Ah, there it is. True limited characters in PGR. Now, characters that are new that came out in PGR, they were limited for a time, but they were eventually added into the standard pool. And they also ended up having their rate ups despite being available pretty much all the time. Now, PGR having limited characters, but true limited characters, speaks a few ideas into my mind to me. Now, if you look at every other popular gacha game that's basically within the casual players for gacha games, or just ends up playing the most popular gacha games and don't really care about the more niche gacha games or whatever the case may be, they are used to having 50-50s in their game. They're used to having limited characters in their game as well. They're used to having all sorts of those things there. So there are going to be players that play Wuthering Waves, Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail religiously, and they'll see this as something that's just perfectly normal. Some people may even see this as finally they're releasing limited characters and not making it as easy to get these new characters. And to be honest, me personally, I do kind of think that that's wrong. But we're going to be getting into some of the replies, and we're going to be getting into some of the way that the community reacts in a little bit here. Obtaining inverse shards for featured characters in Phyllotree Nexus research shares identical rules with that of other S-rank omniframes obtained through the themed construct. This includes the number of inverse shards converted when obtaining duplicate characters, the exchange through Phantom Pain scars in the Phantom Pain shop, as well as the exchange through inverse shards in the shard shop. And basically, if for whatever reason your brain has currently shut off, or maybe it's just come apart like a damn switch that you've taken the controllers off of, basically what this means, it's just the same exact shit for Phantom Pain Gauge. When you get duplicates, what is it? You get like 30 shards when you get a duplicate, and it's going to cost you the same amount of Phantom Pain Gauge shards for getting the limited characters as it would for getting the other themed construct characters. The accompanying 6-star weapons and cubs for characters in the Phyllotree Nexus research share the same availability period as the characters. The 6-star weapons can be obtained through the target weapon research, while the cubs can be obtained through the cub target research. Oh boy. They share the same availability period with the characters, the weapons, and the cubs. Ooh boy, that, man, I mean, you know, it makes sense in the grand scheme of what they're trying to do here. But is this really the best sort of way of going about this? Now, obviously, this post, this decision, this update has gotten a lot of feedback, a lot of mixed feedback. I mean, if you set all these people within a room, they're all just going to start screaming at each other and arguing with each other about whether or not this is okay. Now, I know I'm a few days late to this, but I have been busy and I have been doing other things, and I've also just been trying to unwind, so I am tackling this a couple of days later. But before I get into any replies, I do want to give my take on this first. So if I'm understanding this correctly, and you guys can tell me if I'm misunderstanding this, is that these characters are going to be limited now, going forward when it comes to being a part of the Phyllotree Nexus research. So characters are going to have a little bit more gravitas when it comes to them being released, because people are going to have fear of missing out, and they don't want to end up missing their favorite characters and waiting for a rerun to arrive whenever it comes to these characters finally leaving once their availability period ends. Now, obviously, this isn't for the standard characters. They're not magically throwing all past characters that were limited and became standard into the Phyllotree stuff. That's not happening. Don't get the wrong idea. The only characters that are going to be limited is the Phyllotree released characters on the Phyllotree banner. It is not going to be adding pre-existing characters to this banner and making them limited. Let me just throw that out there. Now, I'm gonna be honest here. Punishing Gray Raven was a game that I could go to where they would just throw characters at me, and every time a new character came out, I was basically guaranteed to getting that new character no matter what. They always gave you enough pulls to get a character, they always gave you enough times to get a character, and 9 times out of 10, whenever they released a new character that was an A rank, they ended up giving it to you for free, while triple S plussing it for you for free. Now, this was my experience. I can't speak on every other person's experience, but ever since I started playing the game, I have not had trouble getting any character at all. And I never had to worry about waiting and wondering when a quote-unquote limited character was going to come out, or when a rerun was going to come out, because I knew eventually they were going to be available for what felt like all the time, and their rate ups was constantly going to be on a relatively short schedule. You have no idea how many times it felt like I saw Crimson Weave pop up as the rate up character for me to get. Crimson Weave was probably the easiest character for me, the Triple S Plus, that they didn't just flat out give me for free, and they ended up flat out giving her away for free multiple times. I do think that this might be a step in the wrong direction. I don't think Punishing Gray Raven needs limited characters, like true limited characters that you cannot have any other way of obtaining whatsoever until they get a rerun. I think that that's not right. I think we should leave that with Wuthering Waves and keep Punishing Gray Raven with having characters be available permanently. I feel like that's where the real gravitas for Punishing Gray Raven as a whole when it comes to the quote-unquote gacha genre, aside from its combat. I really do feel like character availability was a part of its gravitas. I do think that not adding these new characters eventually to the standard banner is a little bit of a mistake. Actually, I do think that it's a big mistake. I feel like I just had a brain fart. I feel like I just lost track of everything because I had to do something real quick. Where was I again? But I do think these characters, these new characters that came out that eventually got added to the standard pool is really what made this feel unique amongst the other popular gacha games, you know? And funnily enough, the more I end up thinking about it and the more I end up thinking about having these characters get added that are limited, it's actually kind of like pissing me off, you know? Like thinking about this game changing towards that direction is kind of really fucking stupid, I'm not gonna lie. I've been trying to like keep my cool a little bit about certain things, but the more I think about it, the more upset it makes me, because my energy overall has been like relatively low this past couple months because of everything that's been going on. But this change is absolutely fucking stupid. Like this is ridiculous. There's no way that this change needs to be kept. Like they need to like change up something or like put it back to normal, you know? They need to do that. I also think I hear my dog whining, so I think he's either hungry or he wants some attention, so I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna be right back real quick, but I'm gonna be honest, this is really ridiculous. I just wanted to add this little tidbit into the middle of the video because this is really, I don't know. We're gonna get into the comments pretty soon, don't worry. But yeah, it's just kind of crazy. Now, there are people that have mixed reactions to this, and I am going to address some of these comments, but not all of them. Grey Raven Radio, obviously. If a new cast of characters doesn't appear on the themed banner, they logically also won't appear on the beginner banner. This means they can't be targeted for free once per year through Blue Target. The weapon/cubs are also limited for these characters. Weapons/cubs have never been made unavailable in PGR aside from collaborations. So, from my understanding, this means anyone who misses Liv's patch has no way to get her until a mysterious rerun date, which could potentially be several patches later. It all just feels very un-PGR-like to me, and I 100% agree. It really does feel very un-PGR-like. Because I know one of the beautiful things about PGR was when I had friends that joined up with PGR and saw a character that they really liked and they wondered if they would be able to still get the character, I would just tell them, yeah, you'd be able to get the character from a selector, or they're just gonna have their rate up just appear. And honestly, I thought that was a beautiful thing. Having the characters eventually be available 24/7 and being able to actually grind and work towards them, rather than waiting for some, as they put it, a mysterious rerun date. I mean, come on. Bruh dudes, they aren't changing the rates, lol. It's just the characters you can still get in a rerun. Similar to Wuwa, if you still can't read or crying because you wanted to spend no money on pulling, then gacha isn't for you, bud. Ah yes, spoken like a true gambling addict. Asiu, I don't know how I'm gonna break this to you, but I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this. I think gacha games having characters be available more often than not, or being available pretty much all the time, is a really cool thing. And having to wait for characters to come back out doesn't exactly feel too right. I understand that that's how it works in Wuthering Waves, but just because that's how it is in Wuthering Waves doesn't mean that it should be the standard bear. We should be working towards gacha games being less predatory, having characters be more readily available to be accessed to, amongst a myriad of other things. We should be prioritizing fun over trying to just keep this stigma of, well, it's gacha, oh well. And on top of that, why wouldn't you want your favorite characters to be available to you more often? Why would you want them to go away and then wait for a rerun? I understand that a lot of people that like gacha games and like the whole limited character shtick makes it feel like their favorite character coming back is like Christmas. But I'm gonna be honest here, having your favorite characters constantly come and go is like actually really annoying. And honestly, the more gachas that make it to where there's no limited characters where you have to wait for them to come back, the better, to be honest. I want everybody to be able to use their favorite characters across the games. And then, in a perfect world, gacha games will no longer have gacha mechanics, and all characters will be available. And then we get to play normal games. Wouldn't that be so cool? TLDR, it's bad. It is worse than was before. You welcome and spend ASAP or FOMO. You know, I know it's the internet and all, but like, I don't know, this guy's reply just seemed kind of base. You could just tell that he just didn't care about sounding right in the sentence. What he's saying is kind of correct, but he just like typed it up, hit enter, and he was like, yep, I already know people are gonna agree with me. You know, I kind of like this person's You welcome and spend ASAP or FOMO. I'm dead. It's a bit sad to see Kuro removing the things that made PGR stand out from other gacha systems. Strange to have that change suddenly happen after 6 years of successful growth. This won't affect anyone who frequently gets SS with Sig plus Cub. her weapon and cub will also disappear instead of being permanently in the weapon/cub pool. In other words, if you're aiming for double S with Sig plus cub, you must get it within her banner. You cannot save overtime and farm for it, and that really sucks. I really enjoyed the save overtime and farm for characters because you never had a fear of missing a character. The characters always felt guaranteed. Limited characters. Okay, they beating your ass in the QRT's low, bro. Look, I'm gonna be completely real, guys, okay? I really don't like this, and you guys can blame me for not liking this, but I really don't like this. I've never liked limited characters before. I think that if a character comes out, they leave, and then eventually they'll come and they'll be a part of the game permanently. I really don't like limited character stuff. That's why I don't really play gachas like that. Most of the games that I play is just either MMOs or story game. But then again, gachas are supposed to be a side game, so I guess the argument that people could have is essentially just, well, if you don't like the fact that it's limited characters, just don't play the gacha game. But I feel like that's like almost a little brain dead a little bit, because like I said before, we should really be working to have these characters be available all the time. Now, another thing that I think about is, what if they make regular themed characters still? And they add them into the standard pool, obviously, and have them have their own little raid ups and stuff, and have their cubs and their signature weapons available all the time. But what if the philo tree characters are kind of like 7-star characters disguised as 6-star characters? What if these characters are actually going to be so much more powerful stat-wise in comparison to the theme characters, that these limited characters are limited for a reason? They're these special characters that'll come once in a blue moon and will randomly be reran and stuff like that. I think that's also going to be a problem. You can't just run Spider-Man like all the time, and then once in a blue moon you throw the Hulk at the game and then take the Hulk back out the game, you know? And I'm talking like overpowered, like world breaker Hulk, you know what I mean? Like, the Spider-Man's cool, the Spider-Man's great. I have Spider-Man characters that, you know, I love more than anything, but then you just throw this fucking Hulk character and he destroys the game and he leaves and he's limited? I don't know, that kind of feels like a cop-out for a little bit of extra money. I mean, don't they earn enough money from Wuthering Waves though? Like, why did they have to change PGR? They didn't have to make limited characters. It feels almost as bad as never seeing crossover characters again. Sure, you're going to eventually see these new Philo Tree characters again, but come on guys, let's not make them limited. Let's try to roll this back. Let's try to see if we can get the community to try to roll this back, because this does seem a little bit not good, you know? But yeah, I wanted you to tell me what you guys think about this. I personally don't like it, but if you guys support it, tell me why you support it, and if you don't support it, also tell me why you don't support it. I'm going to say this, however, for the people that say, oh, congratulations, you're now experiencing what a gacha game is, I don't think all gacha games need to be the same. I really don't think all gacha games need the exact same systems. I don't think all gacha games are created equal. And I really do think Punishing Gray Raven should have stayed with having no limited weapons, cubs, and characters after a bit, because that was one of the things that really made Punishing Gray Raven unique. I do think that adding FOMO to your game that has been loved for having more permanence to it is a major fucking misstep, I'm gonna be real. Anyways, like I said, let me stop yapping. Tell me what you guys think. But anyways, I want you all to take care and peace.